What's up, everybody? It's your boy Walking Mondu. Welcome back to Wrenchtrenchers Garage. And I'm telling you, that thing looks good, doesn't it? Anyhow, today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing the oil on my 2013 Toyota Tundra. It is a limited edition. It is a 4-door. I believe that is a crew. And it's a 5.7 liter V8. So I haven't seen any really detailed oil change videos for this particular model, so I'm just decided I'm gonna go ahead and do one for you guys. So I'm gonna get as detailed as possible with you guys. This is an actual tutorial, not just a vlog like mostly everything else I do, where I don't really go and explain a whole lot of stuff. But this time I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I just kind of feel like it. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started. You guys gotta go on the GoPro for this, but I will not be time lapsing much. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. Let's get started. Alright everybody, so what you're going to need for this job are these specific tools here. We're going to start from the left to the right. Okay, so starting with this tool right here, this is going to be the tool that removes the housing or the housing cap from for the oil filter. You can use this. This will take the cap off of the oil filter housing, and you can actually remove the oil filter with this. You can either order this from Amazon or you can get it from the Toyota dealership yourself. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description, or I will go ahead and find a part number or something to this because I don't really know what it is. I don't know it offhand. But the next thing I'm using is a long-handled ratchet. You're going to need to put some torque on some of this stuff. So a long-handled ratchet is probably what you're going to need. I'm also going to be using my Milwaukee cordless ratchet just to kind of help things move along. If you don't have one, that's fine. Just use a regular ratchet. You're also going to need a 3/8 extension. You can use a long, short, whatever works for you. You're going to need a 10mm socket. You're going to need a 12mm socket, and I've decided to go ahead and use a 14mm ratcheting wrench, and that is for the bolt, for the drain bolt itself. So the drain bolt, 14mm. The skid plate bolts are going to be 12mm, and the skid plate to the plastic bumper holes are going to be 10mm. You're going to need the extension to remove the housing and to place inside this housing removal tool. So those are the tools you're going to need for this job. You're also going to need a bunch of towels. You're going to need some gloves. And you're going to need very large oil pans because this thing holds 8 quarts of oil. Almost 2 gallons of oil. Typically with this vehicle, once all the oil's out, I typically have to use both of them anyway. So that's what you need. That's what you're getting. Let's get started. Alright everybody, so now that we've talked about the tools we're going to use, we're going to talk about the type of oil that I'm going to use. I use the Mobil 1 Extended Performance. I actually got it on sale at Walmart for $25 a bottle. Yes, that's a little bit high, but it is the best stuff you can get. And if you happen to go a little bit over, it's okay because this is guaranteed for 15,000 miles. Would I run it 15,000 miles? No, absolutely not. Change the oil when it's due, and when that maintenance light comes on, start thinking about changing that oil. Don't worry about how much and how far, and no, do it when the manufacturer says to do it so you don't mess nothing up. I just use this stuff because, like I said, it's probably the best stuff that I could get for the price that it was. It was a tiny bit expensive. You can use different other types of synthetic oils, but this is what I'm going with just because I can. It's my car. I need to make sure that it runs and drives the best it can because this is my daily. I have to take care of it. So yeah, that's why I use this. So I went ahead and I got 2 gallons of it because you are going to use most of it, if not all. Next thing I did, I got my oil filter from Toyota. If you need to know the part number, there it is. Alright, so that's what you're going to be using as a part for your oil filter. So I decided to go with just going with what Toyota has. So there you go. Those are all the products that you need. Those are all the products that I'm actually using, and I never have an issue with it. So there you go. Alright, so now guys, if you ever wondered what type of oil your Toyota Tundra 5.7 liter takes, it's right here on the cap. 0W20, that's what you make sure you use. If it says use it, that's what you use. Don't screw around. So before we even get started, I like to pop this open. Before you start with the oil drain and all, before you start draining the oil, because it kind of gives it an outlet for the oil to kind of drain and do its thing when you pop the plug. So that's what we're doing now. Alright guys, so looking underneath of the truck, this is the front of the truck. You can see headlights up there. Going straight toward the front of the truck, you're going to notice some 10 millimeter bolts. You're going to have one. This is starting from the driver's side. So you have one, you have two, and you have three 10 millimeter bolts that holds this plastic guard that's on the front of the vehicle to this big metal skid plate that is underneath the bottom of the vehicle. You have to remove those three bolts. I've already put some WD-40 on them to lube them up. Hopefully it'll help them come out just a little bit easier. And you got to remove those bolts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, guys, is we are going to remove 5 12 millimeter bolts. There are two located at the front. One here, just to the left of that first 10 millimeter bolt that we removed. It's right up in this hole. It's a 12 millimeter bolt. There's one there. There's one down here. There's 3 more in the back. You can see that. So there's one here, and one back here where I've already sprayed some WD-40. And once again, these holes, and these holes that are right there, all these holes, they don't have anything in them. So you got a total of 5 12 millimeter bolts, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove those now. I will not be removing this one as it broke off on the last oil change, so yeah, that's one that I don't have to mess with. No, it doesn't mess with the flex of the plate. It doesn't mess with anything. It's fine. Alright guys, at this point what we've located is the oil drain bolt, and this is located on the passenger side of the vehicle. It's actually facing out toward the passenger side of the vehicle, so if you want to see it and get to it, I'm coming in from the front, but you can also come in from the passenger side and actually see this bolt. You'll see the oil pan that is connected right here to it, and it will take a 14 millimeter wrench to take it off. You can use a socket if you want, but I'm using a ratcheting wrench right now. As always, lefty loosey, righty tighty, and you crack that sucker off. Always make sure I try to use gloves as much as possible because you don't want these chemicals getting into your skin. And this is how we drain. Now it's gonna come flying out of there, so what I'm using is a pretty long oil pan, so no matter how far it shoots or when it starts drizzling and stuff, it'll actually go right in the pan. This job can get really messy if you let it, so don't let it. Bam. So there you go, the oil's draining. We're gonna clean this up, and we're gonna take this old washer out when it's done, and we're going to replace it with a new crush washer. So next up, we're going to go ahead and start taking off the oil filter. Alright guys, so after you remove the metal skid plate, you can now see the oil filter housing, and basically this metal plate right here is to allow you to drain some of the oil before you open the cap. Now I know there's some people that just put you're gonna need a special tool to open this outside cap here. Now some people just remove that and just let it all come out, but I'm gonna do it this way for today, just to show you guys that if you open this up, it's just gonna drain some of the oil out for you so you don't make as big of a mess. It's still gonna make a mess, but this is what they recommend. Alright, so what we're going to use now is this special tool that I got. I actually ordered this from Amazon. It's Motive Tools on here. I don't really know the part number or anything like that, but it is a specialty tool for you to remove the oil filter housing from the from the Toyota Tundra. Toyota also sells these, so you can get it from the dealership as well, or you can just order them online. So this is what you use to pull off the housing so you can get the filter out. So I'm going to show you that right now. There's 3 prongs on there, right there, and you have to line those up with those 3 prongs. And once those 3 prongs are on, you'll see that it seats. Right in there, and then it will allow you to use your 3/8 again. So you got to hold it in place. So once that's there, you grab yourself a long ratchet, because these are pretty difficult to get out of there, and you crank it off of there. Right back here, I don't know if you can see that, but let's see if I can get a shot. Go. You see that little metal piece? There's a little metal lip right there. As you turn, it kind of moves a little bit. That's what helps keep things in place. So you're gonna need that. Sorry, the camera's shaky. I'm using my left hand and it's getting weak. So there. So here we go. We are gonna turn this until we get the housing off of it, or the cap, or whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna move you guys back a little bit so that I can make sure that the oil actually falls in the pan instead of all over my pristine floor. So you turn this guy, and next thing you know, oil is gonna start flowing. And there it is. And this gets where it gets pretty messy. There it is. So everything comes out, oil, everything, oil filter, all of it. And then you can just kind of rest it to the side. And this is where a good little bit of paper towels comes in. So I'm gonna go ahead and get cleaned up a little bit, and I'll be back. All right, guys. So at this point, you can go ahead and remove your filter from the housing. Use an old busted rag or something. Drop that in there, and then you just kind of want to just give it a little cleanup, and that'll be fine. So, and after that, there's this little O-ring here that you can remove, and that guy comes out. Once you take that one out, and now this is why I like getting the Toyota stuff, because it provides you with new O-rings. You get an O-ring for the housing, and you also get an O-ring for the housing drain plug. Now, before replacing these O-rings, you want to lube them with just a little bit of clean oil. And then you can slide that O-ring right back on. There's a small seat right in the housing, right in here. And that's exactly where that O-ring goes after you have lubed it with a little bit of fresh clean oil and you've cleaned up your housing slightly. So now the next thing you can do is put the filter on. Now, as far as the filter is concerned, it is the same on both sides, so you can pretty much just stick it on any way you want. It's got a little spring in there, so once it's all the way in, you got that little spring action, and you are good to go to put this back in the car. So, alright guys, so the next move we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the filter and the filter cap / housing cap. Now, I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that we did put a small coat of oil on the outside of the seal in order to help it slide through and actually seal correctly. So that can actually go in, and you just tighten it on. Don't forget to use your housing tool along with a long handled ratchet to reinstall the housing. Make sure that you line everything up properly. So with this, once you've gotten it tight, you only want to do another like quarter turn, because this thing will get on there and it will never let go if you have too many, if you crank it too hard. So 1 quarter turn, and that will do it. Not even a quarter turn, just until it gets tight. You don't want to put too much on here, because I'm telling you, getting it off the next time will be crucial. So that's all you need to do. It's that guy right there. When you see that metal clip go on that little plastic lip, you've gotten it tight enough. All right? Or when you feel so much resistance that you have to feel like you're forcing it, stop. You've had it. It's got enough. All right? So the next thing we're going to put on is the drain plug cap. Okay guys, right outside of this brass fitting is that O-ring I was talking about before. Now once this is in place, all you have to do is use a small pry tool and just pull it right out of there. Alright? So the next one you want to get is you want to get your brand new one. You want to coat it with a small bit of oil and then stick it in there. So I've coated my little ring with a little bit of oil, and you just stick it back in here. And that will help seal your plug. You can go ahead and just push that thing in there. Once that's in, you can reinstall your little aluminum plug. Make sure you're not the cross thread. And when you tighten it, same principle applies. tighten till snug, and just give it a quarter turn. That's my snug, and just enough of a turn. Alright, so there you go. It should not leak, nothing should happen, and there you go, you're done with the oil filter. Next, we're going to go ahead and put the plug bolt back in. Alright guys, so before you put your plug bolt back in, the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the old crush washer. You can just peel it off with your fingers, or if you have to, you can use a screwdriver or something, but try not to scratch up the surface. You kind of want to clean up the area. Alright, so the way I do it is I put the crush washer on the bolt and I just put the whole thing on together. You just try to get the plug in as quick as you can before the drips keep coming. So there you go. That's on. Use your 14mm, and I'm sure there's some sort of torque on there, but I just go by the same old rule. Once you get resistance, just give it about a quarter turn, and there you go. You don't need to mess with it anymore. If I keep messing with it, I'm sure I will break it. So that's where you are. You don't see any leaks. It stopped dripping. So now we can go up to the top and we can actually start refilling. Okay, so now I can go ahead and start putting the oil in. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in 1 whole gallon at this point because I already know it's gonna take more than that to fill it up. So you saw me just remove the whole seal off the top. Some people just punch a hole in it. I try to remove the whole seal because I've seen those things go inside the bottle, and then when they go to fill something up, it drops inside of whatever they're filling, and it could just be bad. So I just remove it just for safety's sake. Is the likelihood low on that? It's a little low, kind of unlikely. But the fact of the matter is, you want to do it. I want to do it. I just try to be as safe as possible because we all know how Murphy's Law works, right? Yeah, Murphy's Law sucks. I've gone through it. It's horrible. So anyway, we'll go ahead and just put this whole bottle in for right now. We'll let it all drain down for a second, and then we'll go ahead and check the dipstick. Alright, so we are halfway through. We're halfway through the second bottle, and as you can see, we're not quite at the fill level yet. You can see we're not quite at the fill level yet, but we're getting there. So we're going to go ahead and just keep pouring and checking. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and I've checked the oil level, and it seems to be pretty good. I'm a little bit over, but it'll be fine. Once you start the vehicle, that oil level kind of goes down a little bit as it all circulates, so I'm not really worried about that at all. All the excess oil I ended up putting in another oil container of the same kind, because after a while, you know, you'll end up with another full bottle as you only use like maybe 1 1/4 bottles of this stuff. So after a while, you know, if there are a couple of oil changes, you'll end up with a full bottle, and all you got to do is go buy 1. You can start the process over again. But I'm going to go ahead and start it up. We're going to check for leaks this time. Alright guys, so after your oil change is complete, what you want to do is go inside the vehicle and do a couple of quick checks. The first check you want to do is ensure that you have good oil pressure. That's the first thing you want to do. Alright, so the oil pressure is good. We know we got oil in there, we know we got pressure, we know it's circulating. Beautiful. The next thing you want to do is, you can let it run for a while, but typically it only takes a few minutes to tell, is come down underneath, and I like using like light color cardboard or some sort of cardboard, and check and see if you have any leaks anywhere. Typically about right there is about where it would leak from the oil filter housing, and then somewhere back there you'll probably see, if it leaks at all, you'll see a leak from the oil pan bolt. But right now we're looking good. I'm going to let it go for a second, then I'm going to search around for leaks. And if we're clear, we'll go ahead and put the straight plate back on. Okay everybody, once you have verified that you don't have any leaks anymore, what we're going to do is we're going to reset the maintenance light on the vehicle. So the first thing you want to do is you want to turn your key on to the on position. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is make sure trip A is displayed on your odometer meter. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is you want to turn the key off. Then you want to press and hold the knob. Once it's held on, you turn the key back to the on position. Do not start it, just turn it back on. And you'll see that it's giving me a bunch of squares. And the squares lit up in sequence. My hand was in the way, I apologize for that, but you'll get a bunch of squares, and those squares will light up in sequence. And as those squares light up, at the very end it'll say reset complete. And when you turn the key back on like I just have, you'll see that the maintenance required light is gone. So you can start the vehicle, make sure it's completely gone, and there you have it. You have a reset maintenance light. So now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put that skid plate back on, and we're good to go. We're going to move on to the next vehicle. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget about the Zazzle store if you want to pick up some Wrench Trench merch. So you guys keep wrenching. Wrench Trench out. Peace.